Hello, hello, and good morning and good afternoon for those who are on the East Coast. For those who are joining from the West Coast, good morning. I hope you got your coffee. I am Marie Boone Clark, and I'm co-founder of Birthing the Magic Collaborative. I am so delighted to have you with us today, and I'm even more excited to host today's workshop as part of our ongoing efforts to provide support and education for our community. I'm particularly excited to work with Shenee Johnson. Shenee is a licensed professional counselor and liberation-focused healer. She specializes in supporting Black birthing people through the perinatal period by helping them mother on their own terms. After experiencing a high-risk pregnancy that deeply influenced her calling, Shenee founded a maternal healing collective, which I love this name, Shenee. I Deserve Mental Wellness. Shenee has received specialized training in perinatal mental health from Postpartum Support International. She has served predominantly Black families during her 18 plus years of service or experience in the mental health field. Shenee has also studied decolonizing therapy for Black individuals under Dr. Shauna Murray Brown, and she's continuously exploring her spiritual beingness. Shenee integrates Black and African healing practices into her counseling work to enhance her clients' wellness journeys. Welcome, Shenee. I am excited to dive into this conversation. I know I have not done your bio justice. There was so much that you've done. So if there's anything that I've missed, please, I want to honor all the work that you've done.
Yes, you did great. Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be here and so happy to share this information with you all. Yeah, so I will get started. I am Shenee Johnson, licensed professional counselor and liberation focused healer. And I'm working with a new title. I'm the co-founder of I Deserve Mental Wellness Services. So today we're going to talk about freedom from mom guilt. And the more I was getting into this work and developing the slides, I was like, actually, I think it's more like freedom from the consequences of mom guilt, because I'm definitely an advocate for like feeling your feelings, but not letting it drive and lead your life decisions, right? How we can figure out what that would look like. So I have some slides I'd like to share with you all. So let me do that. Okay, so the freedom from mom guilt, embracing self-compassion and liberation. Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. All right, so anytime I start my sessions with the folks, the women that I work with, I really love for us to breathe. I find that a lot of us, especially Black women, Black birthing folks, we're not breathing. And I say we because it's be. So I would really love to have you all join in with me on a guided breath. Something new that I've learned about breathing is that what's the most effective ways to breathe is to take more counts to breathe out than breathing in. And so that really resonated for me because I believe that we as Black women, we have a lot, we got to breathe out. And so I wanted to see if you would be willing to participate with me on this. So you can close your eyes or keep your eyes open, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take 4 counts to breathe in. We're going to take 6 counts to hold the breath and 8 counts to release the breath. Okay, so we'll do that 3 times. It's a 4, 6, 8, 4 counts in, 6 counts hold, 8 counts release. Okay, let's do that 3 times. Okay, you can open your eyes and get reacclimated whenever you're ready to. And so I hope that you would take that tool away from you, to have that within your day between transitions. When you are coming into a new space, you're coming into work, you're coming home, all the things can be really great way to center yourself, ground yourself and your intention. All right, so the flow of how this will go, I will have us end at 12:45. I want to welcome in any questions, any comments, and so to start, I will talk about me, where I come from, what I bring in my work, our work as the collective. Then we'll talk about understanding mom guilt, what it is, what it really is, and why it happens. And we'll talk about the impact of mom guilt. And what I was talking about of, I don't think it's most important to immediately rid of the feeling, but really thinking through how it's affecting your life. So we'll talk about those points there, and what the freedom would look like, how to free yourself from letting the guilt take control over your self-care, take control over your work, taking control over how you wouldn't define yourself as a mother and as a parent. And last, I will share some helpful resources. And then that last point, that question and answer. All right, so things to keep in mind. I will use the term perinatal. And so perinatal is from conception up to a year after birth. So when I talk about perinatal mental health, counseling, mental health work, that's typically what I'm referring to. Postpartum is typically defined up to a year after birth. What I found in my work is that a lot of Black women, Black mothers, Black birthing folks uh, tend to not tend to realize that they probably were navigating postpartum depression or anxiety well after the year. And so I know that there's a lot that contributes to that. I'm sure the Black Superwoman schema, which we'll talk a little bit more about, and just the systems of oppression that line up against us, where it literally, for a lot of us, becomes I'm gonna work and I'm gonna come home and make sure my kids are fed. And us having such limited time, a lot of limited resources, it can be difficult to check in with how we're feeling about a thing until way later. And we do serve those moms as well. So we're not like, okay, you're not a year out. No, we do serve those. So if your child is 5 years old and you're like, hey, I'm still dealing with some unresolved stuff, come on in, we got you. And so I will interchange in using inclusive language. So not everybody identifies as a mom, not everybody identifies as woman. So I will typically use the term birthing person, someone, a person with a womb, non-birthing person, partner. And so I'll kind of interchange that language to really honor those folks who sit outside of that. And for mom guilt, it can be dad guilt, though I don't hear about it as much. And we'll talk about that and why I think why that is. But that could be the case, parental guilt as well. And so for today, I don't discuss much about healing for the non-pregnant parent or man just yet. For today, I'm really focusing on the pregnant parent, the birthing parent. And I do have bias because of how I sit in the world, and the mothers that we serve tend to be cisgendered, heterosexual Black women, Black mothers. And so some of this work will be centered on that. And because that is my experience, and a lot of my expertise falls in that area, and it's not my intention to be exclusive in any way. Okay, so who I am you got the bio, you got a good gist of it. And so I just wanted to touch a little bit more. I am a free Black woman. And so that is what I claim and affirm in the world. I don't always feel free, but I really try to use those words as much as possible, and really thinking about my future, what that will be for me. And so with that comes, I'm very pro-Black, very Black centered, very Black woman centered, personally and in my work. And so you'll find that to be the case as we kind of continue this discussion. I say silly, so I really like to exercise my sense of humor. It may come up in this as I get more and more comfortable, because I am a little nervous. And so, yeah. I'm also a philosopher and a teacher. So as a child, I always wanted to be a teacher, an educator. And I find that my work is very much that, you know, presentations such as this, presentations I've done in the past, and even in the one-on-one sessions, there is a lot of education about psychology, about mental health, about Black Superwoman schema, about our context in the world, how that affects us. And philosopher, I really enjoy talking about ideas, uh, very much about systems of oppression and how they really affect us, but also what the healing through that can look like. These days, I'm very zeroed in on patriarchy and misogynoir, and how that penetrates every part of our system in our world, our political system, like it affects everything. And so I'm really fascinated about it and enjoy those conversations. I am a Cali girl, so I am definitely Team Kendrick Lamar. I wish I was from Compton, but I'm not. So I was born in San Jose in the Bay Area and from Sacramento. And so you probably hear that in my voice. You know, I tend to have articulate my words, but I've been in the southern area for 20 plus years, and I've been in the Atlanta area where I am now for about 10 plus years. And I align with the language as womanist, disruptor, Afrofuturist. Womanist, I really like to, you know, again, as I mentioned, center the love, care, needs, support for Black women. That shows up in my life in a myriad of ways, really centering my friendships with Black women, my collaboration with Black women, Black girls, really making sure that their care is well. And then also all of those, like those of us that experience the most oppression are the most marginalized amongst us that are Black, are really important to me. Disruptor. So I'm probably not going to be nice and sugar coated about it of like breaking through these systems of oppression. I'm going to say things that make folks uncomfortable. And I think that's important, especially when you're challenging big insidious systems like racism, delusion of white supremacy and things. And so also Afrofuturist. And so the way I heard Ashley talking about towards the end of the presentation yesterday, Ashley works with me with I Deserve Mental Wellness Services, Ashley Bonham, and she was talking about conscious parenting, gentle parenting. And so I say that to say, in the way that I raise my own children. So I think about how to raise my children and preparing for the future that I would like to see, that my community wants to see. I don't raise them in what the world looks like right now. Entirely. And so I really think about those ideas. I'm in community with people that are thinking about what is the freest version of us as a community. And so, yes. And also, I'm a mother of two beautiful children. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I am a co-parent. So there are times that I have my children with me, and I'm a single parent, and there are times that I am child-free. And I used to be married, and with that, there were times where I felt like a married single parent. So I've had a lot of different experiences. And so I think it was important for me to share that. So you know my worldview, where I'm coming from, ways that I might be limited, and the ways that I might be expanded. So I liberation focused healer. So that means I speak mostly about the healing through systems of oppression, that I am less likely to pathologize the folks that I work with of you are depressed and you need to do X, Y, Z. More leaning towards this system is depressing, and it's understanding why you are having these feelings and these thoughts. And so here's what the healing can look like. There's nothing wrong with you. So I tend to lean towards that. My granny was a healer. She didn't use that word, and those in the community with her didn't. But I learned that she had folks sitting at her feet asking for advice and comfort, and she gave that to them. And so I was like, oh, she's a whole healer. So it's in the lineage. I've always really been interested in just speaking life into folks, even before I was a counselor. Was on pregnancy bed rest for about a month with my son, and perinatal mental health trained, licensed professional counselor here in Georgia. And I say co-founder, so a new title that I'm working with, in that I founded it, and also my kids helped me found it. My community helped me found this company. My colleagues helped me found this company. My ancestors helped me found this company. So I'm really playing with that term, that it was not, getting away from individualism, and that it was not just me who, you know, created this company. And also our company is, we are liberation aligned healers who center the needs of Black women and Black mothers. And so we work with folks who are experiencing postpartum depression, anxiety, pregnancy loss, birth trauma. And some of, these are some quotes of what that sounds like. And even if you're not fitting perfectly in a box, if you're not feeling okay, that is perfectly okay, and enough to decide that you want to participate in counseling. And so we are currently accepting clients, more specifically, Ashley Bonham is, and you can go to pregnancytherapist.com to learn more about our services. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little sip of water. Okay. So this is understanding what mom guilt is, what they say it is. And some of this is true, and so I'm kind of being a little bit sarcastic, but it's this heavy nagging feeling that you have when you're doing something. It's this thought that what you are doing is somehow wrong. And more specifically, this leans into this belief that one is falling short in your parenting role, that you're working too much, that you're doing too much self-care, or even the little moment that you take, right? That you've missed this milestone for your child because you were tending to something else. And this feeling and this belief, this nagging, heavy feeling, like I should have been there, or I should always be there. And there's this newer concept that I found out about of working mom guilt. So this has to do with when you are at work feeling guilty that you're really enjoying your work. If you're coming back from maternity leave, feeling really guilty that you're like, oh, thank you, God, I'm at work now. And how some moms will feel guilty about that, like, oh, I shouldn't feel like that. I should just feel so happy every moment with my child. And these are the definitions, but I believe that this is kind of the surface definition. And there's a lot more that goes into it. So what it really is unrealistic societal expectations, stereotypical gender roles. This idea, this very traditional colonized idea that mothers, birthing people should always be with your children 24/7. That men, the non-birthing parent, it's fine to see them out and about, gallivanting in the world without their kids. And if their kids are with them, oh, you're amazing, you're babysitting your kids, right? And it's just this pressure that we have that we are to be there always. But what is so frustrating is that it's not evolved to our working world. And so it's this expectation that we should always be there with our kids, but folks want this check and this money from birthing persons, mothers as well, wives, right? And so with that, it's this push and pull that happens. Some of the guilt can be the realizing the lack of support that you might be receiving from other parent. I also add with that, it may also be if this is if you're coming to realize that the other parent is not as supportive as you thought they would be, and realizing, okay, wow, I chose this. We're here. Their father shows up this way. Their father is not as involved as I thought, and there could be some guilt or some bad feelings that come with that. Raising Black children in America. I was just talking with Marie about the world, the politics of America right now, especially, and just the guilt of knowing that we try our damnedest to protect our babies and our kids, but we cannot in all ways at all times. And there is some guilt, understandably, that comes with that. I'd say pain and rage that comes with that as well. So I have grief in capital letters. Is it actually grief? Is it really guilt, or is it grief? Is it the depression that this is how the systems are set up in America? This lack of support for us to actually have families and raise our families? Is there anger, rage even underneath all of this? Of like, I'm having to work 70 hours a week to, keep this life looking this way, but I cannot always be here for my kids, or I cannot have my kids supported in the ways I want them to be. Understandable. Tribeless communities. There were a time for some people, they have granny up the street, auntie up the street, hey, can my babies come over there for a little while? I'm gonna go, watch a movie. That there used to be some ease. And nowadays there is a lot of disconnection, a lot of folks moving across the country for work opportunities, and that tribe is not there. And it can be frustrating because we hear about this, like it takes a tribe, it takes a community, and a lot of us don't have that. And so, and if we do, some of it comes with, yeah, I'll do it for you, but you got to pay me. And so there can be the tribe or not, or some limitations to it financially as well. And so I talked about, I think, a bit about the colonized, internalized beliefs about motherhood, right? Of like these traditional views not having evolved. Perfectionism and the Black superwoman schema, how those both play into each other. The Black superwoman schema is we have to have it all together. We have to talk this way, code switch. We have to mask. We can't show any vulnerabilities or weaknesses. We can't ask for help or support. We got it. That energy makes it really impossible to, if we had support, to receive it, right? But really makes that guilt even more possible, because who can really operate that way 24/7 in the world we live in? And outside of that, it's not healthy for us as well. All right, so here's some visual about patriarchy, how it affects us in a lot of ways. What stands out most to me is about objectification. And so how women tend to be seen and valued for what they can do and the labor that they bring, whether that's the labor in the home or the labor at work, and how we can be limited to these type boxes. So how dare us go get our nails done, or how dare we center our friendships, or, and really these boxes that can make it this resentment, understandably, that would build up. In wanting to have fuller lives, but feeling like it has to be just about being a mother and being there. Misogynoir. This is I would say the dislike of Black women, basically the disdain for Black women in our culture, and all of the ways that affects us, how this contributes to our level of exhaustion. by the time we get home with our kids, I don't have any energy. Just please sit down, right? And how that can contribute to the guilt of like not feeling like we can be as present with our kids or as much time with our kids, because all of this here is exhausting.
Mm.
Black women being viewed as threatening or angry when we speak up for ourselves, the maternal mortality rate, the stereotypes, over sexualized, all of that really chips away at us and our energy. Okay, so we have here the impacts of mom guilt. Less likely to engage in self-care or for as long, or to be willing to invest financially into your self-care. Seeing it as somehow you're taking away money or you're taking away time for your kids, instead of it is a family effort. And of course you should be poured into. A strain on relationships with your partner, your other loved ones, might become resentful of the tribe that you don't have, or the tribe that's not as available for you. Emotional toll. If this is left unchecked, mom guilt, if it's left unchecked, it can spiral into experiences of anxiety, experiences of depression. And then the life imbalance, that life just looking like work and kids, or when you're at work, you're feeling bad, or you're at work 70 hours a week because you want to get all the things and the experiences for your kids. And so it's just becoming the lack of fullness, and it ultimately a lot of moms not being in alignment with their values, what Ashley was talking about yesterday. So I want us to shift into what freedom from mom guilt can look like. So the first one being, I don't think that it necessarily has to be ridding of the feeling immediately. I think all of our feelings and emotions, especially, and sometimes especially the negative ones, are giving us some data. Maybe we're misaligned somehow. Is the guilt all bad? So for example, if it's, man, I feel so guilty, like I'm working these 70 hours a week and I just want to be with my kids. Do you have to work 70 hours a week? Do you have to work? Might be a weird question, right? But yes, you need resources, you need money. Can you take a leave of absence from work? We are high advocates over here at I Deserve about leave of absence, taking that from work, taking advantage of that benefit. So sometimes it can give you some data. I like to use the visual of riding in the car with feelings and emotions. You're driving your car. Don't let guilt drive your car. Guilt can sit beside you in the passenger seat. It can talk, it can say some things, but you're driving your car. You're taking care of yourself. You're going to your job. You're going to hang out with your friends, have a date night with your partner, right? The guilt is not taking that wheel over and saying, nope, no self-care for you. Nope, no, less work, or don't prioritize your career. Like it's not driving it. Let guilt sit there and say the things, probably some nasty things. Oh, your mama was with you all the time. Look at you working all the time, right? And just really sit with it. Does that have to rule you? Well, this is what motherhood looks like for me. And when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids, or I will be, right? Letting it just speak there. And then maybe shifting the guilt to the back seat after a while, where you are, and part of sitting with this journaling helps, working with a counselor helps, but just really examining it. Like, what is this? Is this here to teach me something, or is this an oppressive system that's trying to run things? Letting it sit in the back seat eventually, like, okay, in the back seat, on the tablet, looking outside at the scenery, taking a nap, like, okay, she got it, she all right. And then eventually you let guilt off. Okay, you're done here. Let guilt off, whatever their stop was. Thank you for your time. You was kind of nasty and rude, but we got it together. Here you go. and letting that go. And so just, I just like to bring that visual as you're journaling and really sitting with that. Is the guilt all bad? Sometimes it is. And sometimes it can help you to realign to what's really important to you. Maybe your career really is important to you and you want to see your babies out here. You want your babies to see you out here getting it. That's beautiful too. Baby step towards building a tribe. Can you make it a goal this month to meet one of your neighbors, especially if it's one of your neighbors that have kids, and just saying, hello, my name is, I saw you with your kids. And baby step. Eventually they, oh, hey, how you doing? And you're building a connection. Eventually, maybe, hey, can you watch my child? Because I got to, yeah, sure. And you all having a collaborative energy of we're taking care of each other's kids. And I'll share some resources of like how that can be helpful as well in taking those baby steps. It can be overwhelming to go from tribeless to like, I have this whole thriving tribe. And it does take effort. I can't even hold you. It does take some effort. And you can do it. You can do it in small ways. Redefining the parental success, quality versus quantity. If all the energy that you have when you're getting home from work or you're clocking off, closing the laptop, is to read a book for 10 minutes with your kids, read the hell out of that book. All the sounds, all the theatrics, give it your all, being really present in that, just knowing this is all I have today is just this 10-minute book. And so that really helping you read, like even day by day, my parental success today is giving my kid a big old hug and a kiss. And I love you, and I'll give you some more tomorrow if I can. Being fully present in that. You as a mother might not look like how your grandmother looked as a mother, might not look like the white older woman down the street, and that's okay. Self-compassion. What advice would you give your child when they become a parent? If they were in having similar feelings of guilt, not feeling like they're showing up for their children in the ways they want to, what would be the advice you would offer them? I imagine it would be soft and gentle and kind. How can you share that advice with yourself? How can you be gentle with yourself? This world, a lot of times, this America, a lot of times it's not going to give it to you. You have to claim it. And I know that you can. Authentic beingness. This is a concept that comes up in my training with decolonizing therapy for Black folks with Shauna Murray Brown. Having spaces where you can remove your mask. Ashley also spoke about this last night. Safe people who are emotionally safe in your life, where you can say things that mothers don't say out loud. Right? Mothers don't say this. Mothers don't feel this. I don't want to be pregnant. I don't like being pregnant. I'm tired of being a mom. This is exhausting as hell. I love my babies, but they are exhausting. Saying the hard things out loud in a journal is cool, but like it's a different energy when you can say it out loud. This is not okay. And where you know that the person is not going to meet you with, well, you decided to be a mom. You chose this. Like, this is how it is. Like, no, if people are giving you that comment, don't say that to those people. Folks who understand and are willing to hold that with you and like, yeah, it's tough today. I get it. Reprieving from the double consciousness that can happen. Ashley last night was mentioning, and the moderator, I'm forgetting her name, I'm sorry, about code switching and how that very much is part of a mask that will hold, especially if we're in predominantly white spaces. We have to be on. We have to be like this, sharp and all that. And what it can be like to hold some gentleness and some care with you on the other side of things. Honoring the anger and resentment of parenthood and societal expectations. And I would say heavier on the societal expectations. That if you had it your way, you probably would not be in this oppressive system raising your babies. And that is infuriating. And it is okay to have a space for that. Mine is screaming in my car when I'm driving. Might sound weird. I'm in a space where I know probably it's not a lot of people watching. Maybe I'm on the highway, maybe it's late at night, early in the morning, and just have a scream like from your gut, screaming. But you need to have some sort of outlet for that. Acute, therapy, if you have the right therapist, could help too, but just talking gently about being angry, you need a physical, a visceral experience to let that out. And exploring what you don't enjoy, negative emotions regarding parenthood. All right, and so these are some general healing tools that I think are great for navigating guilt, parental guilt, just being a Black woman, Black mother, Black grandmother, these tools and healing tools are imperative for us. We've got to engage in some way. If it's a 5-minute meditation, prioritizing yourself where you can get something in. So I have here intentional baths, oils, herbs, praying into your water, setting intention to how you want this water to cleanse you, what emotions you want to cleanse. I believe it's really powerful, intending what you are doing and what you want an element like water to do for you. Visualizing free birthing ancestors, that all of our ancestors were not enslaved. And I think a lot of times we forget and are probably made to forget that. And so really imagining or even learning about what our Blackness, our Africanness, our Caribbeanness, right, of what that freedom looked like. And I believe it's important for our healing to check into that from time to time, especially if you pair it into a meditation, that you have access to that freedom. One way or the other, you have access to it. Cleansing breaths, checking in with your body. As I was talking about that breath we started in the beginning, seeing how you could use that in your transitions. When we're done here in this presentation, taking a breath, then before you go to the next thing, when you sit into the car, take a breath, pause, then drive off, right? Of like how that, and checking in with yourself. How do I feel? And not like you immediately have to correct it, but just noticing yourself. Oh, I'm kind of tight. Like I know for me, my stress shows up in my shoulder. I'm kind of tight right here. Okay. Just know that, say it to yourself. Like, okay, at some point you will see how you can get that massaged out, or, whatever that, put some heat on it, what that might look like. Prayer, meditation, listening to affirmation artists. So there's an artist named Tony Jones. Yes, I think, yes. Tony Jones, and she does a beautiful, amazing affirmation music for Black women. And it's really has a great beat on it. And it's really nice to meditate with, just to listen to throughout your day. And then just doing some research on affirmation artists. Neo Soul is usually pretty good with that. Just having some beautiful words speaking over you. And another tool that I talk about often with my clients is a video diary. Journaling is great and writing down is great. And sometimes when you're just deep in the mom life, it feels like you don't have time. It feels like that's you. And then the space and knowing that your toddler is not going to take the pen and just, what you doing, mommy? And like interrupting. And so I really encourage folks to take advantage of technology. Use your phone. And so you might feel a little silly at first, but using your phone, recording yourself. Today was hell. Today was, it was so challenging. And this happened and that happened. And I was feeling kind of guilty, but like, that's crazy. Why would I feel guilty about that? Because I'm like, I'm working, the money helps my kids. Like, okay. And just, it might seem silly, but recording it and then playing it back to yourself has a lot of the same powerful elements that actually therapy does. And just really noticing yourself, your expressions, how you're saying things, what you're talking about, what you're focusing on, even challenging yourself as you're playing that. back, like, wow, I'm like super negative today. Like maybe I can listen to this affirmation song so I can get back in check. Okay, so some other tools, rooted village cultivation is important, as we talked about, growing the tribe, growing your tribe back, connecting with and deepening your relationships, especially with other Black birthing folks. The Peanut app is a really, really great app that is kind of like a matchmaker for moms. And so you get to connect, you can connect with moms that are in your local area. It'll lay out like the kids that they have, the ages, their parenting approach, if their school, traditional school, homeschooling, like you really get to see like, okay, and friending them. They have these somewhat like clubhouse chats where you can join in and it's an audio, you just listening to other moms. Might be venting about certain things. A lot of times they have a lot of centered groups just for Black mothers experiences. So it might be, Black kids doing my Black daughter's hair, groups like that. And it could be really, really great way for you to like from afar be like, okay, I like her and her vibe. Like, let me, send her a message and see how you all can meet up. Baby toddler library groups. So a lot of libraries have uh sessions with mothers, or actually sessions for toddlers and babies. So it might be a reading time or something like that. A great opportunity for you to meet other moms that are local in your area. And so some of the times, sometimes aren't conducive for work, but if you can figure out a way like to make that be a great way to meet other mothers. And then we have the PSI support group. So postpartumsupport.net. Ashley also shared these groups last night. And so international wide groups, they do very, very great of centering groups for Black mothers, Black birthing people. And so anything, stress, anxiety, depression, but could be a great space to talk about some of the guilt you might be experiencing. Yeah. And so I think that's the gist of yeah, having a postpartum plan. We do a lot of that work in our sessions at I Deserve, just really thinking through what your support system will look like after the baby gets here. And reimagining the baby registry, a family registry, how there can be a meal train, how you can be supported. And it's not just items for the baby, but maybe some items for you, some self-care items or some services for you. And then grassroots organizations to connect with. So we have BlackMamasMatterAlliance.com and Shades of Blue Project. They have online support groups. And yeah. All right. So that is all that I have. I definitely want to, I didn't get a chance to see you all's comments. Want to hear from you all if you have any questions, any comments, and I'd love to answer them.
Well, the comments were coming fast and furious. We were saying preach. In a nutshell.
Nice. Nice.
So much to digest. And in a good way. I had shared with Shenee guys that I have enjoyed this entire week, and she brought it. My father, I'll have to warn you all, my father was a minister, and sometimes I preach. And but I wanted to it was a good thing I was on mute, because I was like, amen, and I'm scripting.
I appreciate that.
One of the comments that I would love for us to spend a little time on, Shenee, is you had mentioned, well, two things. First, you had mentioned not feeling safe, that if I, in voicing to either my partner, my mom and him, that I'm struggling, or that I am experiencing these emotions. And can we talk a little bit about how, and you did, but let's spend a little time on it about how our culture has created this perception of how Black women should present themselves, or how women should present themselves. We'll talk about Black women.
Mhm.
One of the statements that I heard that just really resonated with me, she's actually in Atlanta, Christopher Holloway.
Yes, yeah, Dr.
She talks
Christie.
about, yeah, she talks about how we were presented with three tropes for the Black woman, right? We were either the Jezebel, or we were the mammy, or we were the strong Black woman. And so in the absence of any other options, we opted to be the strong Black woman. But how do we get around that? Where, and I'm of a different generation, where no, you never showed your emotion. And I remember one of my therapists saying that he could see me come in and then start to take the armor off when I wanted to talk
Mhm.
about losing my mother and all the other traumas. And so it was true. So how do we get past that with, if we don't have that safe space, I guess,
Okay,
feeling
okay.
that we have to be perfect.
Yeah, that is really, really good question. And it's very challenging, right? And especially what you're saying, to not have the safe space and trying to let go of that armor. And I'll lean into what Ashley was sharing of like the schema, the Black superwoman schema, the strong Black woman in a lot of ways does protect us, right? There are systems, there are workplaces, there are experiences that we have where we cannot be vulnerable, because to be vulnerable, there's a certain weaponizing, targeting that can happen, right? And so I do want to honor that truth. The not having the safe space, I think where my mind goes is at least creating the safe space for yourself and within you.
Mm,
Um, and if that is saying that out loud to yourself, I'll find some folks that I work with, like just having the difficulty even saying it to themselves. I don't like this.
mm,
I do not like this experience of mothering right now. My kids are getting on my damn nerves, right? I'm just whatever, by just saying it to yourself, creating that safe space for yourself. And I know it might seem kind of like, okay, yeah, girl, like what's the next thing? But like you being able to create that with yourself, and the safeness of like it's okay to feel that out loud, will make it easier to begin to share that with, let's say you starting with your loved ones and you are trying your best to create a safe space with them.
mm,
um, and if it is you, little by little sharing some vulnerabilities,
mm,
um, or little by little highlighting of like your auntie says something like, oh man, that doesn't make no sense, and just be like, oh, like really leaning into that conversation. What do you mean? Yeah, that felt uncomfortable for me too. And really being the catalyst to start those conversations within the family, like things that are not comfortable, that don't feel okay, that can kind of get tucked under the rug, being the one, if you want to kind of stretch that out for the family a bit.
mm,
That's such an act of discernment, though.
mm,
And there are some people where you're like, okay, Uncle Ray Ray and them, probably not. There's no hope for them. I'm not gonna say that in front of them, right? But there are some, and I think Ashley brought up a good point. There are some, some families, some that are like maybe closer to your age, where they're like closer to getting it, and that you can maybe even have that conversation out loud with them. Yeah, this is kind of stressful working so much, and these kids like, and just having the family be exposed to conversation, even if they're not ready to engage. So yeah, that's what comes to mind. And definitely the online support groups, taking advantage of our online communities where there are moms just like you. I was thinking about there's a Facebook that I heard of about um, moms. it's actually called Moms Who Smoke. I'm not sure how you feel about it in this space, but I thought that was intriguing to hear that. And whether you smoke or agree with smoking or not, but it was interesting to see that there are spaces where there are moms being authentically themselves and say, hey, this is what I do, this is what helps me relax. And it's a pretty big group where they can talk openly and honestly about how they feel about it and probably other topics, because they know that those moms tend to align with their ways of thinking.
I love that.
That's what comes out.
So a couple of reactions. One, I love the thought of, testing the waters with family. I do encourage, because, and it may not just be your girlfriends, because as a grandma, some of us older women are like, I'm past all that, right? I don't have to wear the blue suit to work anymore. And yes, I lived in a world where we did, and you couldn't wear a skirt without a blazer. And so I'm past all that. I can be freer. So when the younger generation want to talk about things, the other piece is like, there's that poem of when I'm an old lady, I'm going to wear red and a purple hat. So we really are free now. So that is a great point, and we've just been bottled up and waiting for someone to ask us to talk about it. The other piece that I love that Anika just put in the chat was that creating a safe space and a brave space. And I really, that is the piece, is having that bravery to maybe break the generational curse too. And for some of us, we didn't know any better. So to have someone say, there is a better way, there's a better way of parenting. And for my generation, my daughter's in her 40s, it was Montessori. And it was like, anything is better than what the spare the rod, spoil the child mindset. So we turned to Montessori, but now there's so much more. And I enjoy learning it with my daughter. I want to do a teeny tiny plug, because you have mentioned the Superwoman schema a couple of times, and it was created by Shel Jaskambe, correct?
Say the name again.
Well, I'm Southern.
I think that's
Y'all didn't know I had an accent, did you? But oh yes, we code switch real well. But then when it's a word we can't say, that's where we fell. Carol Giscombe, Giscombe, right?
Yes. Right.
Guess who's going to be our speaker in September?
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. I love her book.
That's exciting. Oh, congratulations. That's amazing.
So I'm one of those people that if I love your stuff, I stalk you. And so I stalked Dr. Giscombe and got a phone call with her. Let me brag a little. So look forward to, you're nice to me. I might let you come back and moderate.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, she's gonna do a workshop for us on September 24th. But one of the things that for those who are not familiar with Dr. G's work is and that's the other thing I do, is I shorten your name if I can't pronounce it. Is the Superwoman schema. Can we talk a little bit about what, just to set the stage, because you've talked about it and maybe these people won't be able to join us in September. What are a couple of parameters around the Superwoman schema, and why did it resonate with you? And why is it so relevant here?
Yes, so it is, and I want to start from like where it originates from, right? Of like our enslavement, Black women, Black mothers, our enslavement. There was great risk, harm, death to show vulnerability, that we can't work, that we can't do the thing, and that we had to have this tough armor in order to survive, right? And so it's carried through generationally. And so a lot of the parameters with that are difficulty showing emotion and vulnerability, an unwillingness or difficulty in accepting or asking for help and support. It can look like need for over success, overcompensating, and doing that with limited resources, right? Of sometimes hearing stories about, well, I don't know. I don't want to pick on her at all, but like, I don't know why it comes to me, Taraji P. Henson. I'm like, I came here with $20 and then I made it like this. And like, those stories are beautiful and inspirational. And that doesn't have to be your story. Cause like building from $20 to becoming a millionaire, like you need help, you need support, you need people. Um, and and so those are some of the gist of it. And how that shows up is it makes it like that perfectionism as well, right? Of like needing that mask, needing to appear like you have it all together. You're the great career woman, you're the great mom, you're the great wife, great friend, like all of the things. And so really how that applies here, it makes the guilt even more deep rooted, insidious, because there is such a denial of your humanity. That's really what it is. It's so dehumanizing to operate in that way. So for you to have regular feeling emotions like, I am not enjoying this, or I'm overstimulated right now as a mom, and coming to those realities up against perfect mothers wouldn't be overstimulated. They would love to be with their kids all the time, right? Bumping up against those two, like seemingly very drastic different. Um, the depth of mom guilt for Black women, I believe, is more, can be more intense because of that Black woman, Black superwoman schema.
Thank you for that. And yes, I agree. And it's interesting that you bring up how people will talk about they want. I'm just going to be transparent. They will test. We will testify when it's a good testimony, right? We talk about how wonderful things are, and I think social media has perpetuated that hugely. But we don't talk about the journey. We don't talk about you really were in LA with $20. You were probably not living in a nice place. You were probably working 15 jobs. And I think that's one of the reasons I like Tabitha Brown, because she's very transparent about I was working multiple places. And that's, I think, where I love so much about your discussion. And I hope we have a few minutes, guys. And if you have questions, please drop it in the chat. I don't want to hog the convo. But one of the things that I love that you said that was so humbling, first of all, was that how you acknowledged that you are the co-founder of your organization because of the support and the village that you have, that you didn't do this alone, that your children are integral to your success. I love that. I think we don't get to see that level of transparency of I am not superwoman. And we tend to put on that cape for folk. So that was something that was beautiful for me. And I also love that you said, quote, is the guilt all bad? Does it stopping and carrying it in the back seat? I pictured like an Uber driver. And I was like, okay, I'm the Uber driver. Guilt, you're going to be in my back seat. Because I even, as a grandparent, I struggle because we're in Scottsdale. My daughter is in New York, Manhattan. My bonus daughter is in Dallas. And my daughter, I feel the guilt of not being down the street or in the building that I can see my grands and help her more frequently. And so I thought I'm going to start putting it in that back seat. And then when it's time for them to get out, I'll get them out. I love that.
Yeah, appreciate
And
that.
the
Just looking at the
conversation.
comments here too.
Yeah. And then the conversation about not being, I can't, my mother was that mother. My sister, my older sister, she lived a block away. So my mother could go down the street and help with hers. But I have to understand that I'm not my mom. And it's okay. That our communications are on FaceTime and not down the street. But so much. I know we are running out of time and a lot of people are probably on their lunch hour, but this was just an amazing conversation, learning, Shenee, and I hope everyone in the group took something from it. We will share the recording. I dropped in the chat the link to Shenee and Ashley's. It was nice that you guys bookended Shenee and Ashley's service, their counseling service. We'll put it in the email that we send out with the link as well. Thank you, Shenee. I look forward to seeing you
Thank you so
September.
much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for inviting me. This was such a pleasure. And yes, I hope you all have an amazing day. Wonderful
Oh,
day.
my last pitch. Tonight we have Domiana indoor, and Domiana is a yoga instructor. She is a life coach. She is a somatic healer. And so at 8 p.m., log on, see us at this evening's. Thank you, Anika. I was just telling with Shenee that Domiana is one of my lifesavers because I can be a type A, a high strung, and everything else. And not only is she saving my energy, but she saves my dearest because I can do my tapping and breathe
Tapping, okay.
before he has to deal with it, bless his heart. So, but thank you all. We'll talk to you guys tonight at 8. Thank you, Shenee. Have a good
Okay,
day.
thank you. Bye-bye.